Hello, grade 11s. Welcome to Life Sciences. It's 5 p.m. on a Wednesday, so you know what it is. With me in studio today, I've got Llewellyn. Hi, Llewellyn.
Hello, how are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Not too bad. Are you guys all doing well?
Guys, look how excited he is. Like, I just can't help but be excited for grade 11. Life Sciences. Just in case you don't know today, we're doing Gaseous Exchange. I remember doing that in high school. I hope you remember doing it from class a few days ago. I hope you've got your notes. I hope you're prepared. And we're just going to roll. Remember, if you have any questions, catch me on Facebook. That's facebook.com/learnextra. Tweet me at learnextra. But you can also go onto our website, which is learn.mindset.co.za, and get our notes for today's show, where you can just keep up with what's happening. But also, there's an amazing competition I'm going to tell you about later, so now you have to watch. Llewellyn, let's
That
take
is
it
so
away.
unfair. What do you mean later?
Later, then let's watch first. First learn, then win.
Oh, I thought you win when you learn.
Yes, you win-win. Now it's a win-win situation.
Right, so just to let you know, it's always good to have somebody answer questions, eh? So Sia's here. I hope she remembers her work.
Yeah, that's what you're here
You
for
see,
in
it's
the background.
always good to make sure she's there. Right, okay. So, firstly, let's have a look. We're going to do a lesson, okay? Nice and easy as always. Hopefully, my brains are here today, so I can select a pen already, okay? The lesson that we're doing, you've heard gaseous exchange in animals, right? And plants. Animals and plants, but we're doing everything except for mammals, right? We're doing like insects and fish and plants, that type of thing, and earthworms. Remember all of those? We're going to do those today. Okay, now, firstly, in this lesson, define gaseous exchange. Remember what I always say? If you want to get 30%, know all your definitions, and it's sorted. Hey? How cool is that? 30% is just definitions.
30%. Wow, okay.
Well, if you know your definitions off by heart,
Can I go back
30%
to
you
doing
pass the
life
paper.
science?
and the nice part is, if you know your definitions, the other work is easy. So, come
That
on.
makes sense. If you know what you're talking about, you know how to answer the questions, right?
Method to my
Yo.
madness. How cool is that, right? Right, so there we go. We're going to look at the requirements for efficient, right, gaseous exchange. What does efficient mean? See ya. Stay with me.
Efficient.
Yeah, efficient.
I don't know. I'm not. I don't know.
see, I
That's
told
what
you.
you're here for.
I told you straight away. Efficient means easier. It happens better.
I
It's
thought
quite
it
efficient.
means something different in life science. I knew that.
Well, come on. You could have tried at least, right? And then study gaseous exchange in various organisms. That's what we're doing today. Right. But first, wait for it. Here it comes. We're going to have a look at it.
Challenge
The
question.
challenge question. And we like this little challenge question. So what I've done is I thought about mermaids. Hey? Can you imagine a mermaid? Mermaid can breathe outside of water and inside water. Hey?
I don't know they even exist.
Yeah, well, neither do I.
In
But I'm not
your
looking
world
at
they
that.
do.
Most probably in somewhere, not like upstairs. Right, but we're going to have a look. List some advantages that aquatic, right? Aquatic is what?
Water.
Water, that's it. Aquatic
Yay.
organisms have over terrestrial organisms with respect to gaseous exchange. In other words, what does animals that live underwater, right? What positive things do they have that terrestrial, in other words, me and you, and insects and ants, ants are insects, or earthworms and that type of thing. We'll keep her going, right? Ants and all of that. And what easier things it is to have in water. What's a nicer thing to be in water than the people on the outside or on land? Right, so that is the challenge question. That means you've got to think a bit. Right, you have to think a bit. Now, firstly, let's talk about gaseous exchange. Now, you've heard about cellular respiration. Now, the biggest mistake people do, cellular respiration is, right,
Yes.
wrong.
Okay.
Cellular respiration is making energy, right? Gaseous exchange is big difference, right?
I knew that.
Yeah, you see, we'll get her thinking. We'll get her thinking. So we're going to have a look at the following. Gaseous exchange is a process that occurs when oxygen and carbon dioxide diffuse. Why not osmosis? Diffuses, very important, I'll tell you now why not osmosis, but diffuses across a surface or membrane in opposite direction. Now, that is like big words. Okay, let me put it this way. Okay, it is when oxygen and carbon dioxide, right, change places across the membrane. Hey, how cool is that? Very easy. And diffuses, why not osmosis? Can you remember what osmosis is?
It's diffusion with water.
It's diffusion with only water. Brilliant. Diffusion with only water. So only water can go through osmosis. Diffusion is anything else. Okay? So across a membrane, the carbon dioxide will go that way and the oxygen will come this way. So it's in opposite directions. So breathe in. That's oxygen in, right, across the membrane into the blood, from the blood, carbon dioxide back into the lungs, and out it comes. Right, that's what we're looking at. Okay, that's the first thing. Next thing, gaseous exchange is needed to provide the cells with enough oxygen, right, because you've learned what oxygen is, why it's important, right? For cellular respiration, there we go, that is why it's important, okay? And remove the carbon dioxide that the cells produce. Remember, we went through cellular respiration, you need oxygen, and you take that oxygen and it goes through the Krebs cycle, and then, can you remember the carbon dioxide given off? But that was last term's work, right? But as long as you remember, carbon dioxide comes off and we need to get rid of it. Okay, now I've got a nice picture. There it is. You will see that the oxygen in the blue comes through this permeable membrane and carbon dioxide goes in the other direction. That's what they mean in opposite directions. Nice and easy, hey? Very good. Right, now let's have a look at gaseous exchange. Now we're going to get into the crux and the meat and everything of it. Right, so gaseous exchange. One thing you must remember is we're having a look at specific things called volume ratio. Okay, volume is how much you made up, okay? And what's the other one? Where is it? I want to make sure that I've got it. Maybe I should go through it with you guys. Right, the surface of the volume of the organism is important. That's the first thing. And the surface area indicates how much oxygen the organism can absorb. So in other words, if I had to stand here, right, and I breathe through my skin, how cool would that be? Right, breathe through my skin. That means only the outer part of my skin, or where all my skin is, that's the surface area, okay, can absorb oxygen. So for every second, right, all the oxygen molecules against my skin, I can absorb one oxygen molecule, or millions, let's say 2 million oxygen molecules into my body. Right, that's all I can take in. That's what they're saying, the surface area. Now, the next thing, through the surface, the volume is an indicator to how much oxygen will be needed by the organism. So in other words, surface means how much oxygen can be taken in. Volume is if you look at, come here. She sits there like it's history. Right. Now, have a look.
Nervous.
Now, relax. So you've got her there nice in front. Now, watch. Look how thick she is here, right? And in her tummy, and in her legs, and everywhere. Now, the oxygen has got to get from the skin right deep all the way across into her, where her spine is and all that. That is the volume. Look how, and she must take it to me in the right way. Thanks, right? I'm not looking at how big she is, and if I'm looking at fat and that, I'm talking about she is big. Take her according to a earthworm. You big, am I right? Right? So it's got a long distance to travel through to get to the innermost cells. You got me. So it's not very good. You're not going to be able to take all that oxygen on the side in. So we're having a look at the volume, which is how big and thick and whatever you are, compared to the surface, which is your skin. That is what we're looking at. That's what it's saying, right? So it's saying smaller organisms, right, like unicellular, one cell thick, you know, it's got a big round piece for its small little body, right? It's got a unicellular organism has a large surface area in comparison to its volume. So it's not as thick as it's big. You understand what I'm trying to get at? Okay? When we talk about us, in other words, let me just increase that, me and you, right? It says there that large organisms have a smaller surface area than volume, so they do not absorb enough oxygen through their surface. So in other words, if I had to breathe through my skin, I wouldn't be able to sustain or get enough oxygen to run this whole body. It's not good. Right, that's why we have special organisms. And therefore, they have modified in other ways to absorb oxygen. So not specialized organisms, sorry. Specialized features on the inside, so lungs. Lungs make it easier. Right, so that's important. Now, let's look at what we need. Okay, very, very easy. Firstly, requirements and why it is important. That's what we're looking at. Firstly, surface area of the gaseous exchange organisms must be large. The larger it is, the more you can absorb. Remember in food, with the small intestine, right? It's got the villi inside it to make it longer, bigger surface area. Same thing. Wherever we need a big surface area. Okay, there it is. Allows sufficient oxygen to diffuse into and carbon dioxide to diffuse out. Okay, sufficient in, sufficient out. Simple. Next thing, okay, the surface area must be moist. Has to be moist. Okay, it helps to be moist. If it's dry, you can't absorb anything. Okay, now here it is. To prevent desiccation of the gaseous exchange tissue. So if it's moist, it doesn't destroy the tissue. Nice and easy. Right. Next one. Surface must be thin. The thinner it is, the quicker diffusion happens. Right? There we go. It allows rapid diffusion of the gases. Nice, easy. I'm trying to get as much quickly to you as possible, right? Next thing. Transport system must be available. What's a transport system, Sia?
Something that transports stuff,
Like
blood.
clever girl.
Yay.
Brilliant. Right. To transport the gas from one place to another for gases. So where gaseous exchange took place, to the different organisms. That's what we need. Or different organs, should I say. Then, adequate ventilation mechanisms must be present. So in other words, the stuff has to be there to be able to take the oxygen in. Okay? Without that, we're not going to go anywhere. Then it says here, to ensure that oxygen and air is brought in and carbon dioxide is driven out. So we're going to take in oxygen and to push oxygen out. Simple. Right, there it is. That's what we need. And then the gaseous exchange surface must be protected, because if it's not protected, it's going to be destroyed. And if it's destroyed, then we're going to die because we get no oxygen, and that's going to be terrible. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. I've never seen you sitting there like it's like, wow, wow, we'll get there. Right, because the gaseous exchange system is thin and delicate, right? Just like a flower, just like Sia. Thin and delicate. Huh? Perfect. Nice. Right. So, we're going to have a look at the earthworm quickly, right? We're going to rush through this. We're going to get through the earthworm because that's what we need. Okay, earthworm. Have a look at it. It's an earthworm. Can you remember what type of animal it is? Send it to Sia. Remember, we've got the thing called the platyhelminthes. It's not that. Send her what the real name of it is. Right. Simple. The earthworm lives in moist soil and does not, here we go, need special organs for gaseous exchange. It doesn't need it. Nice thing about this thing is it breathes through its skin. Breathes through its skin. So the earthworm breathes through its skin because it's got a large surface area to volume ratio. In other words, because it's long and thin, right? The longness gives a large surface area. The thin means it hasn't got a big volume. So it can take in enough oxygen through its skin to be able to sustain itself. Hey, how cool is that?
That's very cool.
That
I'm
is
so
awesome.
Shocked right now. I'm like, what?
That's good. Good. We're shocking all the time. Good. Right. So then we got, it diffuses right through the skin, as I was saying, okay? And there is a network of blood capillaries below the surface to transport the gas to where it needs to go. That's your earthworm. Quick, easy, simple. Okay, now, remember, this is just a summary. You've got the stuff, eh? So I'm just going through this to make sure that you understand it. Next one, we're having a look at that thing called a grasshopper. Right, locust. You know those brothers, yeah? Okay, now, the locust, if you can see over here, there he is, right? And a locust has got that hard body. It's got a crustacean body to it. Remember, it's got the hard external shell, right? Do you think the water and oxygen can go through that? No, of course not, okay? Which is a problem, because it doesn't have lungs either, okay? So how does it breathe? Well, it's got specialized tissue. Here it is, specialized tissue, right? And that specialized tissue, let me show you the whole thing quickly together. It says there, the body surface of the locust is impermeable, means it cannot take, impermeable to water and gases, okay? It's amazing. Then it says a branched network of tubes, which is trachea, Okay, so it's got trachea that makes up the gaseous exchange system. So it's got its own little lungs inside. But if you have a look at it, it's in this part. There it is. It's in that part of the locust, right? So it's in its back abdomen. Okay, and what happens is they've got these little things over here. You see this part here? That's the outer skin here, this light blue part, right? Where there's spiracles. And the spiracles are there. And what happens is it opens and closes according to how much oxygen this thing needs. Okay? And rhythmically opens and closes, getting in oxygen and letting out carbon dioxide. Hey? That is amazing. It's unbelievable. It's perfect. Right, so I've run through that nicely quickly, right? Remember, those things are very small, but it doesn't have lungs. Those little trachea, right, they go straight to the tissues and end off on the tissues. And that's where they stay until it gets breathed out again. It doesn't have lungs and blood system to take it all over the place, so it just goes straight to the tissues, hey? Hope that you can think, because I'm like, whew, and you see the smoke coming out, so I need a break. What do you think?
I also need a break. Guys, that was a lot to do. Llewellyn can give me a test paper now, and I'm going to ace that grade 11 biology. I hope you feel the same.
I'm going to take you up on that offer.
Just to make sure, guys, you can also test yourself. Go onto our website. That's learn.mindset.co.za. Test yourself, and actually, the person who gets the most answers right wins this amazing calculator in my hand. So why don't you reconciliate your notes now during the ad break, and then after the show, see how much you know, and you could win a brand new calculator. It's still sealed, you see? Enjoy your break, guys. Hi guys, welcome back. I hope that was enough time to reconciliate your notes, because there's more madness coming along. Guys, I can't deal. This is too crazy. I want to go back to grade 11, do life science. It means I have Llewellyn teaching me, you know. Don't forget, test yourself, win this amazing calculator. Talk to me on facebook.com/learnextra or tweet me at learnextra, and let's do this. Back.
I must admit, normally we laugh going into this section. I've never seen somebody with almost laughing their head off and then straight face. Perfect. I'm impressed. I couldn't do that. Right. So, question time. Now, I haven't told you everything. We didn't go through the fish and all of that. But you can deal with it. We're always going to get there. Right. So, let's have a look at it. Start off with a pen, as always. Okay, here we go. Give one similarity between the way in which oxygen from the atmosphere reacts with a muscle in an insect and the way it reacts with a mesophyll cell in the leaf. In other words, they are asking you, give one similarity on how animals take in oxygen and how plants take in oxygen. Okay, that's the first thing. But they put a little bit more detail in it. They said, explain how the oxygen in animals go in and to the muscles. And then they want to know how oxygen goes into a plant and goes to the mesophyll, in other words, all the different other little cells inside there, right? That's what their question is. Now, I want you to think about that carefully. How does things travel between cells? That's all it is. How do things travel between cells? Because it doesn't matter if you're a plant, if you are a monkey, if you are a rhino, if you are like me, something strange, right? Or hopefully the aliens as well. Huh? Let's put on aliens out there as well. No, let's just use them as well. Everything that moves through them has got to go through the specific process. That's what it's called. Am I right?
Okay.
Okay, and what do you think it is? How does things get from here to here through cells?
Magic.
Magic. Magic. You can't write that in your paper. Magic.
Yes, guys, don't write that. Don't do that.
Try. Give me something. You gave me the right one just now about water. Give me the other one.
That one.
Yes, that one.
That's right. You're about to write it.
I'm about to write it.
There we go.
It's diffusion. Very simple, right? Diffusion. It diffuses from high concentration to a low concentration across a semi-permeable membrane. That's what it is. It moves from diffusion directly to the cell's that are connected. In other words, when this cell and this cell come together, moves from here to here, through the membrane, through diffusion. Where there's lots of it in here, nothing or very little in here, they've got to even it out. Remember, everything wants to be in this big word called homeostasis. In other words, homeostasis is a big word to say the thing in maths. Can you know what that means? Equals.
Oh my goodness.
That's the only thing I remember about maths.
Equals.
Because it's in life science. Right. The body wants to be in equals in everything. If there's too much sugar, it wants to be equal. If there's too much carbon dioxide, it wants to take in oxygen. It wants to be equal. Everything is equal. Homeostasis. So if there's lots in here and there's little in here, it'll move across to make it even. Right. It wants to be fair. That's a nice way of looking at it. Wants to be fair. So that's how they move across. Simple and easy. Next one. Next simple little question. Okay, here we go. Give one difference in the way in which carbon dioxide is removed from a muscle in an insect and a way in which it is removed from the muscles in a fish. Okay, now they've given you two things automatically. Okay, firstly, they've given you carbon dioxide, so we know it's leaving the body in both. Cool. Then they told you insect, where's it? There we go. The muscles in an insect, very important. Okay. And the second one, they gave you a fish. Now, first of all, one is terrestrial and one is aquatic, right? Now, this is one of the biggest questions, right? See ya. Which one's aquatic, which is terrestrial?
Aquatic's water.
Aquatic's water, so is the fish in the water or walking on the land?
In water.
Water. So aquatic is the fish. Very simple.
Yeah, I was prepared for that one.
Sorry?
I was prepared
You were
for
prepared
that
for that one. I'm glad. Right. So now we know which is which. Now, they want to know. In an insect, we mentioned that grasshopper locust thingy. You know which one I'm talking about, right? The last one we spoke about. And remember, I said to you, there's those spiracles and there's a tracheas and all of that. Now, it wants to know how does carbon dioxide leave the muscles of that and how it leaves the fish. Very simple. First of all, the locust has got those tracheas. It comes down the tracheas and out the spiracle. Simple. And does the fish have that as well? Does the fish have lungs? No. Am I right? Fish don't have lungs?
Yes, I knew that.
You sure? Because are you 100% sure?
Yes.
Good, good. What do they have?
Magic.
Magic. See, that's all magic. But they have magic. They suck the air out of anywhere. Right. No. They've got a thing called gills, right? That's those snips on the side here, huh? There's gills, okay? Now, what it does is, when it comes through the locust, remember, it comes out the trachea, out the spiracle, and when it is the fish, it comes out the gills. Simple, nice, easy answered. It's not very difficult. Let's hope that you get it. It transports in the blood of the fish, first of all. Forgot about the blood to tell you about. It moves around. Okay, from the muscles to the gills, it's got to be transported via blood. Simple. Does the locust have blood? No, it comes straight. Remember, the tracheas come right from those cells. So the fish, first of all, uses the blood system, okay? And then it's lost through the gills in the fish. Simple, okay? Through the trachea or the spiracles of the insect. That's all it is, okay? Make sure that you give me everything. I'm so excited that I've even forgotten about the blood system, which happens, eh? It does happen, and that's where you got to calm down, find yourself.
And this happens in exams as well. You're so
Precisely.
excited that you know the answer that you just forget some important points.
Exactly. And who marks your papers?
People like you.
Me. Okay, let's say me, right? Now, I believe the person who is marking, you need to see them as, I don't want you to take this the wrong way and go tell your teacher this, right? I don't want you to do that. But I want you to believe that that person marking your paper has no clue about life science.
They can pretend I'm marking it.
Yes. No, but you got a clue. You got something right, right? No clue. And if you have no clue, you need to explain it to them so they understand it. That's the way to do it. Rather too much than too little. That's always a good way of looking at it. Right. Okay. Next one. How's this for a cool diagram? Okay, the diagram shows the way in which water flows over the gills of a fish. Now, that does not look like gills. What do you think? Does that look like gills?
I've never seen gills. I don't know.
Have you never seen gills?
Never ever.
I'll bring you some one day.
I don't like fish.
don't not like fish. If you do biology, you got to play with everything. Feel it,
Okay,
touch it, play with it.
fine.
Yeah. Okay. So
Play
I know
date.
this doesn't look like a fish, but you know, a fish looks roundabout. If I do that, I'm just going to quickly draw something. Right. I'm going to make a cross because I've got a little baby at home, and that's how he would draw a fish.
Aw.
Little eye and gills. There we go. You see the gills. Right. Now, this piece here is if I take this fish and turn it there, right? There's its mouth. There's the mouth, right? It goes through into the gills, comes through there into the gills and out the gills. That's the way water travels, right? Let me do that. Water goes in, into the mouth and through the gills. And that's what it's doing over here. It's going into the mouth. I'm going to erase it, so watch carefully. Goes into the mouth and out through the gills on the outside. Remember, the rest of the fish's body is there. That's just the opening of the gills. Right, so I just wanted to show you that so that we can actually get somewhere. Right, let's do that, and we erase it quickly so that I can carry on talking. Right, now, this is what they're going to do, and you need to understand it. Now, there's two parts that's very important this, right? First of all, I want you to have a look at your bacilla, okay? That's the part of the mouth, right, where the water's going to come in, okay? Then we have a look at the ocular. Opercular, opercular, I hate big words, right? Opercular. And opercular is this side of the gills. These little crosses over here are the gills, okay? Opercular is on the other side of the gills. Now that's what we're looking at. Now the question is, watch carefully, this is cool. I'm gonna lift this up slightly so you can see it. Okay, here we go. The graph below shows the changes in the pressure in the buccal, right, cavity, and in the opercular, okay, cavity during ventilation, right? Nice and simple. So they want to show you the pressure in them, okay? So here we go. Let's have a good. This is, I'm going to draw on this one because there's another one just now. So watch carefully. This pressure here, right? Okay, there it is. Goes up, goes nice and high. It's a high pressure. And then it drops low again, below zero, creating a vacuum, and then back to zero. We're cool with that. This one, right, the percolator on the other side, it comes up because it's so low, it's got low pressure. In other words, it's lower than the other one's pressure. It goes up, goes nice and high, stables out, goes a little bit higher, and then drops as it leaves the gills. Right, that's what it is. That's what it's telling me there. Okay, let's go have a look at the question. See, I put it on there again just to show you, and I gave you the things just to prove it. First thing, let's put the first question up. It says there, what is the total change in pressure in the buccal cavity over 3 seconds? Every 3 seconds. So they're looking at its whole part. So from here to here, what's the biggest change? So let's have a look. 3 seconds, here we go. 0.3 seconds, I'm going mad. 0.3 seconds, there it is. And it's, yeah, take it. I try to do it as quick as possible high, right? There it is. Now, if I have a look at it, it's there. I can't draw a straight line, right? But it's, let me erase it and try again, right? I might just be able to get this nicely, because we always want to be nice. Let's get
Something Llewellyn can't do. I'm so excited.
Never challenge me. Right, let's see. Except if the pen breaks. Well, there we go, and there it is, okay? So it's 100. I've got to bend down and fetch my pen. Right, so I reckon it's about 100 because I'm drawing very badly, okay? So that's the 3 seconds. Then watch here carefully. Watch carefully. Next, 0.3 seconds goes down, and it ends at 6 on 0. So from 100 down to 0 again. It's just past 100, but we'll round it off for now. Okay, it's just past 100, but it literally changes when it's 0.3 of a second, right? It's at 100. 0.6 is at 0. Can you see the difference? It started at 0, yeah, at 0, started at 0, went up to 100, came all the way down. Even though it's gone past 0, it ends at 0 again. Have you noticed? Okay, that is what the answer will be. Very simple. It's 100 pascals. Nice, simple, Easy. Are you getting this?
I love maths, so this
Good
is me.
grief. So if I need mathematicians on here, I know.
Yeah, I think that's not the right thing to say to a life science teacher.
Good grief. No, no,
don't
maths is
love
good.
maths.
We use a lot of
Oh,
maths
okay.
at times. We always use maths at times. Right. I hope you got
I
that.
was scared there.
You get there. Right, next one. For most of this ventilation cycle, waste will be, water will be following in one direction. Okay, it comes in one direction, over the gills. Explain with evidence from the graph to support your answer. So now, what they want to know is, water is going to move in one direction. Is it going to move this way, so in the mouth, over the gills, back out the mouth? Is that in one way? No, it's in the mouth and out the mouth. It's not like we breathe. That's two ways. With fish, it goes in the mouth, over the gills, out of the gills, the back. Okay, those slits there at the back. Okay, you need to prove that from this whole diagram. Okay, from this little diagram, yeah. Simple, right? The graph. Now, what you have to notice, watch carefully, is that water is going to move from a high concentration, there it is, to a low concentration. So water is going to move in that direction at the moment. Can you see it? Okay? Then when this gets very high, okay, gets pushed out, it creates a suction in the mouth, and then the pressure regains at the bottom. So it moves from a high pressure to a low pressure, and that's what they're asking for. It's a very simple question. Okay, it moves, let's go. The water will flow from a high pressure to a low pressure. Okay, the pressure in the, I can never say that word, right? I don't know why, buccal cavity, and higher than the opercular cavity. That's what it is, right? The one is always higher than the other, so the water will always travel from the high to the low. Huh? That's quite an easy question.
I think so.
But we messed with your head because you need to concentrate and try and understand it. Think you will get it right. Okay. Next one. Explain, I'm on PR. Explain how the fish increases the pressure in the buccal cavity. Okay, so
Yay.
if we go up here, yeah, there we go. How does it increase the pressure? Well, it's very simple. Now watch this. Okay, it's going to put the water in its mouth. It opens its mouth, and the water goes in, right? Then it closes its mouth. And then the bottom, you know, you must also try this here. It's very simple. Push your tongue up against the top palate. Can you feel it? Can you feel you pushing the tongue? And it closes the cavity. Have you noticed? And that closing creates pressure. Now it's going to force everything down your throat. So if you put water in your mouth and you pushed it like this, right? And you closed your mouth and you pushed your tongue against your palate, right? What's going to happen to the water? It's got one way to go. Stomach, here we come. Yeah? Now that's what's happening. It does that. So it literally closes its mouth, it forces everything closed, and it picks up the bottom of it and it pushes it up so that it can actually create pressure. Now let's see if that is the answer we are looking for. Well, we all know it is because I'm smart. Hey?
I'm also smart.
Of course, and you knew that.
Yes.
Yeah, with a straight face. Right. Okay, let's have a look at it. Increase. There we go. It says the muscles surrounding the buccal, right, cavity contracts. The mouth shuts. The floor of the buccal cavity will rise. The volume will decrease, and that's how it creates that pressure on the inside. Okay. Now this is stuff you need to know. You need to go over it, and you need to use your brains. Okay. Very important. Some things they're not going to tell you, but you need to put one and one together to make how much?
2.
See, mathematicians. Right. So we all cool. We all understand it. Now we're going to go to plants. Plants. They're so cool. Now, the drawing shows a 24-hour cycle of the opening and closing of the stomata, right? In a plant. It's nice and easy and simple. Okay? Now, you'll notice that, let's go to 2018. It's got 12 o'clock, there it is, and it goes to, what's 1,500 hours?
3 o'clock.
Okay, what's 1,800 hours?
6 o'clock.
Okay, have you noticed how it keeps going? Huh? I've got good fingers to tell you, hey, it's brilliant. Right, and then of course we've got 6 and we've got 9 and back to 12. Okay, so it just shows you, and have a look at this part, okay? And if I have a look at it, it says that at 24 hours, in other words, 12 o'clock at night, it is closed. Can you see it? But 12 o'clock in the day, what is it? It's open, okay? Now, the question is very simple, okay? Explain how this opening and closing of the stomata is advantage to the plant, okay? Very simple. During the day, right, it's going to open up. And when it's open, it's going to take in carbon dioxide, right? Take in carbon dioxide and give off oxygen through that stomata, right? But at night, it closes because it can lose water. Now, water is very important for a plant, okay? We want to stop water evaporation from it. So, can you remember what that big word is? Think about it. What is the evaporation of water or leaving water from a plant? Okay, think about it carefully. Let's get through this. It opens during the day to allow the entire carbon dioxide out, nice and easy. And it's closed at night or from the midday, starts closing to reduce, there it is, transpiration, right? So transpiration or water loss. Okay? That's what I want. It's nice, simple, and easy. Okay, those do happen in a certain way, and you need certain chemicals like potassium in there, and there's quite a bit, and that is one of the questions that are still on the street. But I need a break. You need a break. We all need a break together, right?
And speaking of water, actually, guys, www.watergame.co.za has some exciting opportunities for you. Literally, you go on there, you learn as much about water and conserving the environment as possible, but then you also get the chance to win 5,000 Rand in cash.
That's more than that.
If you don't win that, you win 2,000 Rand if you're second. You win, there's many prizes. There's 20,000 Rand in airtime to be won. You know who I'd call if I had 20,000 Rand of airtime? So guys, please go onto the website, check it out, register and play and learn more. And tell us about your experience on Facebook using the hashtag #SAWaterGame. See you after the ad break, guys. Welcome back, grade 11. Oh my gosh, that was such an exciting ad break. I'm learning so much. I hope you are too. Don't forget that if you aren't, if you need to post those questions, do so. We're right here. We're waiting for you, guys. And remember, test yourself, go onto our website, test yourself. And if you're smart enough, not that you aren't all smart, but if you're the smartest of smart people, you could win this amazing calculator. So now we're going to get right back into this lesson. Enjoy, guys.
Nice. But before I carry on, you guys are fantastic. I quickly had a look, and just the first person that you see, they just give me anybody. They gave me the answer, annelid, which is exactly what an earthworm is. Well done. Yes, it is terrestrial, but it is an annelid. That's what I was looking for.
Masatsi. Well done.
There we go. Nice and easy and simple. Now, what I've got here is, remember in the last question I had the thing with all the timelines, and we had the different the stomata on it, right? So now what I've got is I've got two stomata. There's one and there's the second one, and I want you to have a look. This one is open, you can see the hole there, and this one is closed because they're together, right? And now what they've done here is they tell you there's guard cells, right? And they give you the whole thing. Now the guard cells is what opens and closes these specific stomata. Right, now, they're going to ask you questions on it, and they love this, especially because a stomata, right, is a specialized epidermal tissue, like the root hair, right? Specialized epidermal tissue. So they always ask this, okay? And they're going to ask, how does the stomata open and close? Okay, so let's have a look at it. Explain how the movement of potassium ions account for the opening of the stomata. So how does potassium ions make sure that the stomata opens? Well, it's actually cool, very awesome. What happens, okay, is the body picks up that we need to open the stomata, right? So it has all these potassium ions this side, yeah, right here. And they're sending it, because there's no potassium in those guard cells. Remember the guard cells over here. There's no potassium. The potassium ions are going to be in here, right? Okay, then what happens is there's no potassium in these guard cells. So they say, okay, ready, go. And they let them go. And what does the body want to do? Even each other out, make it equal. So they send potassium equally into the guard cells. We happy with that? Huh? You understand that? Huh?
I understand
Good.
that.
So now we've got a lot of potassium in these guard cells. If you have a look on the board, in this guard cell, yeah, there's a lot of potassium. Okay. The problem is now there's too much potassium. So there's a potassium on the left and potassium on the right, and they're equal. We're happy. That's fine. But now there's so much potassium, there's not enough water. Okay. And if there's not enough water, what is going to happen with water? Water's going to move in, isn't it? Equal. Everything must be equal. And remember that when we have a look at the guard cell, if I have a look at a quick drawing of the guard cell, right? The guard cell looks like this, bean-shaped, am I right? Looks bean-shaped. But the most important thing is, on this part here, right here, it's thick cell wall. It's a very thick cell wall. And that thick cell wall doesn't bend as easily. Okay? So what we happen is we pump the water into this, and when the water pumps into this, this thing swells and gets nice and fat. So what happens is it fills this up, and this thing bends. Okay? So that it opens up that hole. Okay? Or the stoma inside it. Right? Opens up that hole. Now, that's how it works. You pump potassium in, the water's going to follow, it makes it nice and fat, and then it opens it up. Right. So let's see. Always nice to give you the answer. Yeah. Potassium ions move into the guard cells. Water potential of the guard cells become more negative. In other words, it can accept more water. Okay? Then the water enters with a high uptake of water, causes the stomata to open. Easy, simple. You need to think, you need to use your brains, you need to use what you've done all your life. That's the point of life science. Okay, now, if I've made everything nice and even, right, as I always said, try this one. Explain how potassium ions are moved against the concentration gradient. Now, this is where we get, it's called, you get passive and active transport. Passive is when you're a passenger in a car and you just chill and you get there. How cool is that?
Awesome.
But when you get active, you have to do what? You are?
You have to drive.
The driver.
Yes.
You have to do work. Right. So when they say to you, the top one is passive transport. It moves into the cell via from a high concentration to a low concentration. We're cool with that. Cool. But when we have a look at the passive, the active transport, active means work. Now they're even. Okay? But I need to get that out, because if I don't get it out, the water isn't going to leave. And if the water doesn't leave, it's going to stay open. So I need to get it out. So instead of losing water, but pick up those sleeves, it's time to do some work. You get my point. You have to do some work. So it's called passive. You use energy. You have to use energy. So let's have a look at what it says. It's simple. Energy is needed. So ATP, adenosine triphosphate, for active transport. In other words, you have to physically do it. And it normally happens through a protein, right, carrying channel. So there's a protein that literally pulls them, and it goes through this protein, and they pull them through into the other cell, back into the other cell, and then closes so that it doesn't work anymore. Hey? That's how it works. How cool is that?
I never knew what ATP was, so this is so cool.
Nice. ATP, adenosine triphosphate.
It's cool.
ADP, adenosine diphosphate.
Ooh.
Ah.
No, I'll stick with ADP.
I will tell her when just now, when we finished. Right, I'll explain it so that she can somehow come closer up to you. Right, now, next thing I want you to have a look at is, of course, the challenge question.
Finally.
Finally. Now, what we're going to do is, I'm going to quickly read it, right? Sia's going to tell me if there's anybody that's answered it, and we'll take it from there. Okay, firstly, right, the question stated, list some advantages that aquatic organisms have over terrestrial organisms with respect to gaseous exchange. What do they have?
Okay, so Kumbelo says...
Before you go, remember, This is just trying to see how good you are with certain things. Okay, there's a lot of different things, but I want to see how clever you are with certain things. Okay, so let's hear what that lady said to me.
Kumbela said aquatic animals obtain oxygen from water because their skin is moist, and terrestrial obtain oxygen from the atmosphere, though through their skin because it's permeable.
Okay, remember, fish don't get it through their skin, they get it through their gills. So you're already not on the right page there. What else? Let's go.
Okay, Radar says, I think aquatic organisms obtain too much oxygen from water in the seas and the oceans, and I think the oxygen in water will be breathed in by fish through the gills, and they have a thick surface area which will be suitable for gaseous exchange than that of human beings with the opposite surface area.
No, it doesn't make sense. But you're trying. That is my biggest thing. People forget to try. And you will never get it right if you don't try. But you're getting there, right? The more you try, the better it is. So please never say, okay, I say it's wrong. Don't ever say, well, then I'll stop trying. Please don't stop.
I think you should just give us the answer.
Hey, is that all you've got?
I think, just give us the answers.
Okay,
no,
well, let's have a look at it. The important thing, can you remember right in the beginning of the show, I said to you the surface area has got to be large. Am I right? Okay, so it's large. And second of all, that main thing, it's got to be moist. Can you remember being moist? I remember I said moist.
Yes.
Now,
And
for us, let's just take it for us, right? Well, no, not us. I'm going to look at that earthworm. What did I say that earthworm is? It's moist. Can you remember?
Yes.
Okay. So it's got mucus in its skin because it brings it through its skin. So it's got mucus on its skin so that gaseous exchange can happen. Okay. It's nice and thick so gaseous exchange can happen. Right? Nice and easy. But not only that, it's got to be moist. And if it isn't moist, it's got to hide in shade and it's got to be in soil that's wet. Right. With a fish, what is the difference between a fish? Does a fish have to keep its gills moist? Does it?
There's water.
How clever is she? Wow. It's exactly what it is. Okay, that's one of them. It's more. Come on. There we go. Okay, I'm going to take you. No, undo. Undo. Undo again. Undo again. There we go. Now let's try this. Undo's the best button in the world. Right, here we go. So, okay, if I bring this down, give us a little bit more space. Okay, and here we go. Aquatic organisms do not need active maintenance moist for gaseous exchange surfaces. It doesn't need it to be moist. The pressure gradient of diffusion is maintained by moving through water and not by specific things. So in other words, the pressure, the water gives the pressure, right? The water's making all the pressure in there. And then thirdly, try this out. When we breathe in and all the oxygen's in our alveoli, for instance, and then the blood comes past, and there we go. And if the blood gets the oxygen here and it goes right around the alveoli, right, it can't take any more oxygen and off it goes. So we're wasting taking up oxygen. When it comes to the fish, right, the water comes in this way, but the blood goes in this way. So as the water and the blood go close together, it's grabbed the oxygen and new blood's going all the time. So it pulls more oxygen a lot quicker. That's what it is with the rest of it. Right. It's very important. It's a very nice thing to do. And remember, there's less oxygen in water. Right. Hopefully you enjoyed that. I try to give you. There is some more questions. So if you go on the site, you can have a look at it and you can enjoy it. Go mad. I know you enjoyed the lesson because I thoroughly do. Right? And
I also enjoyed the lesson, guys. And Llewellyn's right, actually. If you have more questions, even after the show, we have Help Desk that's proudly sponsored by Excel. Excel, we have big love for you. So, guys, I'm going to post those links. But basically, you post us your questions, we give you answers, even after we've gone off air. So that is really amazing. Guys, I had so much fun with you. Keep posting all your questions. And remember, when you learn, you grow. So don't do it for exams. Do it for you. Do it for you so that you can grow as a learner. Bye, guys.